5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom! We're live here. Hello! I'm Thundercloud here in the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains, and you're with me live on Chillin Tuesdays Poetcast. Here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame in Yarra, live from the Seahorse Medicine Cafe here, and also uploaded to YouTube. So, hello out there in the world, yeah, wherever you may be watching, welcome to Chillin Tuesdays. It's about 4 degrees here in Yarra, so we're chilling. It's feeling like about 1. It's probably going down to 1 degrees overnight. It's a bit breezy out there too, so people are going a little bit muggle tonight, and there's cars driving up and down fast, and that includes police cars here in Yarra, so who knows what's going on tonight. Alright, well, today we received a beautiful package of poetry books from our beautiful friend Chrissy in Ballarat. Another edition of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 poetry books for our Australian Poetry Library and Archive here. And I'm going to be reading to you from some of these books tonight. I've gone through and marked off the ones I'm going to read, so I'm all prepared until I ran out of little pink tickets. And not quite prepared because I haven't got my cup of tea ready yet. Well, I do. I just got to pour it out over here. Here we are. We got some Colliers, Go-To Cola, and ginseng tea. Colliers for longevity, weight loss, ginseng, Go-To Cola for neurogenesis, peripheral circulation to your brain, growing new brain cells, that is. Alright, here we are. Beautiful. Right, here we go. Poets of the Future 2. Excuse me, I'm still getting over a bit of a cold that I had 2 weeks ago, but I'm otherwise 100% otherwise. And so this is to the awesome poets of Yarra Central School, 1965 and 1970. So I'm thinking that's the year that young Chrissy was at school in Yarra, Chrissy Gibson Young, I should say, to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame from Chrissy Gibson Young, June 2022. Okay, and now this is a book that's was put out every year, and it got a whole lot of poets from different schools. It was like a competition. So I'm just going to read you 2 poems out of this. The first place winner, Visitor of the Night, by Kate Wishart, grade 7 at Langland High School. Kate's 13 years old, was born in Canberra. Parents are Arena and John, and she's 7 brothers and sisters. John, Ruth, Anna, Gary, Erin, Owen and Hope. Her primary school studies were completed at Bonnython Primary School, and she now attends Langland High School. Kate started writing at age 5. Alright, so here we go. The Visitor of the Night. An outline in the dark, a silhouette in the moon's milky hue. An owl flying home to the nest. Silent wings beat silent rhythm. Whisper, whisper, woo. The eucalyptus tree whispers of the night owl's flight. How it dived and soared, a lone shadow in the firefly's light. Silent wings beat silent rhythm. Whisper, whisper, ooh. A bushman remembers the night owl's call, the rise and fall of one long note, an owl's own way of yodeling. Silent wings beat silent rhythm, whisper, whisper, woo. Safe in the nest the night owl rests until night arrives and he can dance and fly and soar to the moon once more. Silent wings beat silent rhythm, whisper, whisper, woo. Lovely. And then this one of the second place winners, it's a haiku, Oceans, by J.P. Manley, grade 4, at Pruill School. Oceans. The ocean's sweet smell, drifting through the ragged rocks, clear the dark away. All right. So, well, Poets of the Future 2, that's published in 2001 by, I'll let you know here, Australiasian Publishing Group Proprietary Limited, Bundle, Queensland. Yeah, and there's a series of these books that they did at different times over different years, competitions. All right, the next one I've got here, Thge Dennis, selected verse of Thge Dennis. This particular book here is a copy of a book. The Angus and Robertson in the 1940s and 1950s did a series of books on Australian poets, and selected verse of Thge Dennis. This one is Henry Lawson, Banjo Patterson, and a bunch of others that they did. And I'm not too sure if, the collected verse of Banjo Patterson's advertised on the inside cover. And I've got to stop saying But what I am going to do is read from this, and I've marked the page, and here we are. The Traveller by Thge Dennis. As I rode into Burrum Beat, I met a man with funny feet, and when I paused to ask him why his feet were strange, he rolled his eye and said the rain would spoil the wheat. So I rode on to Burrum Beat. As I rode into Beetaloo, I met a man whose nose was blue, and when I asked him how he got a nose like that, he answered, "What do bullocks mean when they say moo?" So I rode on into Beetaloo. As I rode into Ballarat, I met a man who wore no hat, and when I said he could take cold, he cried, "The hills are quite as old as yonder plains, but not so flat." So I rode on to Ballarat. As I rode in to Gundagai, I met a man and passed him by. Without a nod, without a word, he turned and said he'd never heard or seen a man so wise as I. But I rode on to Gundagai. As I rode homeward full of doubt, I met a stranger riding out, a foolish man he seemed to me. "But nay, I am yourself," said he, "just as you were when you rode out." So I rode homeward free of doubt. The Traveller by Thge Dennis. The next one is the Triantiwontigongolope. Yes, that's what it is. There's a very funny insect that you do not often spy, and it isn't quite a spider and it isn't quite a fly. It's something like a beetle and a little like a bee, but nothing like a woolly grub that climbs upon a tree. Its name is quite a hard one, but you'll learn it soon, I hope, so try. Triantiwontigongolope. It lives on weeds and wattle gum and has a funny face. Its appetite is hearty and its manners a disgrace. When first you come upon it, it will give you quite a scare, but when you look for it again, you find it isn't there. And unless you call it softly, it will stay away and mope. So try Triantiwontigongolope. It trembles if you tick a little, tread upon its toes. It's not an early riser, but it has a snubbish nose. If you sneer at it or scold it, it will scuttle off in shame. But it purrs and purrs quite profoundly if you call it by its name and offer it some sandwiches of sealing wax and soap. So try Triantiwontigongolope. But of course you haven't seen it, and I truthfully confess that I haven't seen it either, and I don't know its address, for there isn't such an insect, though there really might have been if the trees and grass were purple and the sky was bottle green. It's just a little joke of mine, which you'll forgive, I hope. Oh, Triantiwontigongolope. Wonderful. That's my kind of poem. It's just awesome. It's got a ridiculously made up word in it. And I love it. Of course. Okay, well, that's it for CJ Dennis tonight. I'd love to be reading more, but I'm not, because I've got a pile of other books here to read to you tonight. Thank you to Chrissy very much. The Poet's Pen, edited by A.K. Thomson and Judith Wright. Clear my throat. This is an interesting book because it's got a big range of poets going back to like the 1300s or something like that. And all the way, like English poets and then Australian poets and American poets. And so they've selected this particularly, and it was published in Jacaranda Press, 1965, Elizabeth Street, Brisbane. This is a historical and, chronological anthology. It's chronological insofar as it arranges the poets for the most part according to the year in which they were born. Okay, so it's not in where they're from. But I'm going to start with the beginning, as I am because I wanted. And the first one, a poet called William Langland from 1330 to 1400 he lived. And there are two versions of Piers the Plowman here. One of them was translated in the original metre by W.D. Skeet, which is the second one. But I'll read the first one, the original. So it's in really, really old English. In a summer season, when soft was the sun, I shocked me in shrouds as I a ship were, in habit as an hermit unholy of works, went wide in this world wanders to her. As on a May morning on Malvern Hills, me befell a fairy methought. I was weary for wandered and went to me rest under a brook broad bank by a burn side. And as I lay and leaned and looked at the waters, I slumbered in a sleeping, it swayed so merry. So the translation is, in a summer season when soft was the sun, I enshrouded me well in a shepherd's garb, and robed as a hermit unholy of works, went wide through the world all wonders to hear. And on a May morning on Malvern Hills, strange fancies befell me, and fairy-like dreams. I was weary of wandering and went to repose on a broad green bank by a burnside. As I lay there and leaned and looked on the waters, I slumbered and slept, they sounded so merry. Both beautiful. Alright, so from that I'm going to read, these are some, what were they? They were like lyrics or something else. That's what I'm trying to find for you. Ballads, that's right. These are ballads, and they've got no real authors. They're just by anonymous. There are some notes with this, like where they say greeting, that means weeping. Greetings say sir, weeping say sir. And then we've got unbid, which means unbuilt, and unbeen, which means unfinished. And this is called Bonnie James Campbell. Oh, it's up on the highlands and along the sweet Tay, did Bonnie James Campbell ride many a day. Saddled and bridled and bonny rode he, hame came horse, hame came saddle, but near hame came he. And down came his sisters, sweet sisters, greetings say sair, and down came his bonny wife, tearing her hair. My house is unbigged, my barn's unbeen, my corn's unshorn, my meadow grows green. Oh, it's up in the highlands and along the sweet Tay, did Bonnie James Campbell ride many a day. Saddled and bridled and bonny rode he, hame came horse, hame came saddle, but never hame came he. And down came his sweet sisters, greetings say sair, and down came his bonny wife, tearing her hair. My house is unbigged, my barn's unbeen, my corn's unshorn, my meadow grows green. There you go. Bonnie James Campbell by Anonymous. Right, the next one here. A Return to Poetry 2000. 10 Australians choose 10 of their favourite poems. Well, I've just chosen one out of the 100 poems in here. And the one that I've chosen is by Les Murray. Performance. I starred last night. I shone. I was footwork and firework in one. A rocket that wriggled up and shot, darkness with a parasol of brilliance, and a peewee descant on a flung bit. I was busters of glitter bombs expanding to mantle and aurora from a crown. I was fouettes, falls of blazing paint, para flares, spot welding cloudy heaven, loose gold off fierce toe holds of white, a final red tongued as a haka leap, and that too was a butt of all right. As usual, after any triumph, I was, of course, inconsolable. Les Murray, performance. Okay, Bruce Daw, Sometimes Gladness, the collected poems from 1954 to 1987, Longman, Cheshire Publishing in Melbourne, and this was copyright first published in 1978, but how could it be the collected poems up to 1987? I don't know, because it was reprinted. It was a second edition and a third edition, and this is the third edition reprinted. That's how. And the one I'm going to read to you from Bruce Daw is called Les. When Les came off duty this night and sat down at the guard room table, he'd hardly had time to get his mouth stuffed full of food before he was off, telling us about once at Sale when the AOC was making his annual inspection and Les had been on the slops all afternoon. And he ran his chewed nail hand along the underside edge of the table and drew it back, dripping. Then he got up and pinned a sheet of paper to the notice board and printed on it in blood red capitals. When I find the stupid bastard who stuck bits of broken razor blades in the edge of this table, I'll kill him. And wrapping up his hand in a handkerchief, he said, "Now, where was I up to?" Oh, this one, Australian Classics, Jack's Last Muster by Barcroft Boake. There are lines written by a man who'd been around this vast country and seen the barren plains and desolate wastelands of the outback. Barcroft Boake, 1866 to 1892, has been described as a balladist with a rare, tragic death who is too much neglected today. He was most inspired by tragic themes which he treats with sensitivity in sharp contrast to the griminess of the landscapes in which his works are set. So he only lived to 26, this young fellow. Ain't this funny? So I've chosen this one here, from the far west. It's interesting. I was thinking about a little bit of poetry last night and I never got to write it down. So before I go into this, it goes something like this. I travelled west and then I travelled east. And then I travelled east and I travelled west. And I went north and then I travelled south and I went south and I travelled north. Here I am. Something like that. From the far west. 'Tis a song of the Never Never Land, set to the tune of a scorching gale on the sand hills red when the grass is dead, loudly rustle and bow the head to the breath of its dusty hail. Where the cattle trample a dusty pad across the never-ending plain, and come and go with muttering low in the time when the rivers cease to flow and the drought king holds his reign. When the fiercest piker who ever turned with lowered head in defiance proud, grown gaunt and weak, released doth seek in vain from the depths of the slimy creek his sepulchre and his shroud. His requiem sung by an insect host born of the pestilential air, the seethe swarming hideous form, where the stagnant waters lie thick and warm and fever lurks in his lair. Where a placid thirst-provoking lake clear in the flashing sunlight lies, but the stockman knows no water flows, where the shifting mirage comes and goes like a spectral paradise. And crouched in the saltbush sickly shade murmurs to heaven a piteous prayer, "O God, must I prepared to die?" And gazing up at the brazen sky reads his death warrant there. Gaunt, slinking dingoes snap and snarl, watching his slowly ebbing breath. Crows are flying, hoarsely crying, burial service o'er the dying fell, harbingers of death. Full many a man has perished there, whose bones gleam white from the wasted sand, who left no name on the scroll of fame, yet died in his tracks as well became a son of that desert land. Very good. Very, very good actually. Very, very good piece of poetry, that one. From the Far West by Barcroft, Boake. Let's see what else Barcroft's got for us. All right. Maybe. All right. The story of Joseph Riley. The rum was rich and rare, there were wages in the air, the atmosphere was rosy and the tongues were wagging free. But one was in the revel whose occiput was level, playing Joseph Riley from the North Country. The conversation's flow was not devoid of blow, and neither was it wanting in the mild colloquial D. With the most ingenious smile, "This here is not my style," said plain Joseph Riley from the North Country. "And I wouldn't be adverse to emptying my purse and laying some small wager with the present company. To cut the matter short, foot racing is my forte," said plain Joseph Riley from the North Country. "I think it's on the cards I can run 300 yards, the match to be decided where you gentlemen agree. Against your fleetest horse, the race would prove a source of pleasure," said Josephus from the North Country. To equalise the task, this little start I ask, the rider ere he follows must imbibe a cup of tea. A simple breakfast cup he will have to swallow up. That's me, Josephus Riley from the North Country. Then a knowing unlooked wise begged to apologise, but might ask what temperature the liquid was to be. Would it come from out the pot, milkless, steaming, boiling hot? "Oh, not at all," said Riley from the North Country. "Allow me to explain. I do observe with pain this jocular reflection of my native honesty. My bump of truth is huge. I'd scorn a subterfuge," said plain Josephus Riley from the North Country. "Before the parties start, I'll take the judge apart to prove by tasting whether I have tampered with the tea. And I beg to state again, your suspicions give me pain," said Josephus Riley from the North Country. Then they all were satisfied that the match was bona fide, the bond was signed, and Riley went to perpetrate the tea. But his slow, ambiguous smile would have seemed to token guile in any man but Riley from the North Country. He bought that fatal cup, by its saucer covered up. The judge examined its contents with awful gravity, then read the papers over, but could not find a flaw. Weighed in Joseph Riley from the North Country. Then the wagerer just bowed, and passing through the crowd, he handed up the beverage unto the wageree, and off across the flat, springing gaily pit-a-pat, went Josephus Riley from the North Country. But behind him what a yell of execration fell from the lips that lent themselves to shapes of great profanity. For the people of that town were done a lovely brown by plain Josephus Riley from the North Country. And here's the reason why. The tea was simply dry. You might eat it, but to drink it was impossibility. Yet, curious to state, men did not appreciate this humorous innovation from the North Country. You'll understand, of course, that wagerer was a source of very little profit to the hapless wageree, and dating from that day, I much regret to say, men look askance to Riley from the North Country. Okay, Barcroft, Boake. And we've got one more here before I sign out for the night, and maybe I might do one of my own poems tonight. This is from Ocean to Moon, poems by Wordweavers, published by Wordweavers 1994 in North Adelaide, South Australia. There you go. And this is by Meredith Ide, an open and shut case. The toilet door shows vacant. I can relate to that. Vagueness is my second name. Forgetful am I. 3 umbrellas lost, who knows where? If only my brain was engaged, I would be even more used to humanity. But then I wouldn't be me. Meredith eyed. An open and shut case. Dead end. Again, Meredith eyed. Why don't you try real life for a change? The bus window questioned. I have. I've filled in forms for the CES, the DESS, the CSA, the LSC and JET. I met with lawyers, social workers, other advisors. I travelled on the STA, by car, on foot. I give up the fight. I think I'll stick with fantasy. Just dream of that elusive job and perfect companion. It's less painful. Here you go. And something from myself. Okay. We got a little bit more, and then that's it because, chilling on a Tuesday is over, and tomorrow night we've got Wednesday Words here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame with me, Steve Wordsmith, Gladys Wilson, Paul Wood, Ashley Albanese, whoever else rocks up along the way, maybe Vincent, maybe Larry, who knows who will turn up, maybe some of those lovely young people from Armidale or Glen Innes. It would be lovely to see them very much. All right. Well, it was very, very cold this morning. It was -4 and we're chilling in Yarra on a chilling Tuesday. It was -4, feels like -11. And off I got up and I went outside and I went for a bit of a walk. And it was beautiful, as it always is. Giving thanks for the cool morning, happy to be awake at the dawning, feeling alive, I'm out of bed. I'd better get moving or I'll freeze my head. Giving thanks for the ice and the frost on the grass, the sun will come out and the cold will pass. So let's go outside and embrace the cold. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger and bold. Yeah, so that was what I wrote 13 hours ago. Yes, and that's my thing for the day. And my daily poem, my day's poem. All right, but what do you think of if I take a whole lot of nursery rhyme bits and pieces and match them all up into one poem? Is that like too much plagiarising? Well, probably not, because they're Mother Goose that I use, and they're all way out of copyright, so it's all right. I call this I call this Nursery Goose Porridge Rhymes. Nursery Goose Porridge Rhymes, yeah, okay. When the night comes down and there is no moon, the dish runs away with a fork, not a spoon. Jack trips uphill with a cat and a fiddle. The twinkling stars sing, hey diddle diddle. Old Mother Hubbard moves into a shoe with another old woman who knew not what to do. The dog has no bone, an old man's rolling home. She's selling seashells while ragged rascals roam. The rocks have no pecks of pepper that's pickled. Rock a baby in the treetops unless you're tickled. Row your own boat while eggs sit on walls. Oh, but Donald had a chicken laying Humpty who falls. Once I caught a fish alive, 1, 2, 3 it died, and 3 blind mice tails cut with a carving knife. Are you sleeping, Brother John? Morning bells are ringing, ding, ding, dong. Little boy blue wasn't blow your horn and nose. Jack wasn't nimble or quick and burnt his toes. The old man is snoring and he's gone to bed. Vinegar and brown paper ain't gonna fix his head. Little Bo Peepers found a cock and not a flock. They've no tails to wag because they've all been docked. While an itsy bitsy spider has just been washed out. Cock-a-doodle-doo, my dame's shoe was chucked out. Georgie Porgy won't be missed by all the girls assaulted and kissed. When the boys came to play, they were all so pissed that they rode a cock horse to Banbury Cross. In my lady's chambers where I store my dental floss, I took him by the leg and I threw him down the stairs. Morning bells are ringing, it's time to say your prayers. Little Jack Horner sat with Peter, pumpkin eater, and stuck his thumb into the wife of Peter. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet and Jack jumped on a candlestick. Little boy Blue blew his horn but wasn't nimble or quick. Ladybug, your house is on fire. And Anne, under the pans, situation is very dire. Okay. So yeah, there's something like that. That was just making up stuff. Should we do that one? Oh, Gary Goanna. Gary Goanna's pretty cool. You want to hear Gary Goanna? All right, because Gary Goanna, of course. Okay. Gary Goanna had a great attitude. Life's for enjoyment, don't complain or be rude. He was invited to the gym by 3 kangaroos, so Gary went along to see what he could do. In the gym, Gary Goanna lifted some weights, made many new friends and some new mates, until a bear walked in from the United States and started causing a ruckus and dropping the plates. Gary walked over and said, "This is no way to treat animals or the gym equipment today." The bear replied, "Goanna, you must be gay. I'm a bear with a headache, having a shitty day. No, I've got diarrhea and I went to the dunny, it was occupied. I farted, it wasn't funny. In the woods, down my legs, I had poo that was runny. I feel like I had no toilet paper. I couldn't even find a bunny." Gary, then I went to the waterfall to have a shower and the lineup was long for over an hour. I waited covered in shit and that's why I'm so dour. I feel so ashamed I've lost face and my power. Gary felt embarrassed and his face turned red. "I'm sorry for all the things that you just said. Everything could be good or bad in your head. You're alive with the shits. At least you're not dead. In this life, everything depends on your attitude. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth and gratitude. You can choose to be friendly or to be rude, but you'd enjoy life more if you'd be kind, dude." Gary Goanna and the bear were at the gym. The bear asked, "What's your name?" "My name's Tim." "My name's Gary Goanna," Gary replied to him. They became best friends from a meeting in the gym. This is where things took a good turn. The bear said, "Gary, I have an awful lot to learn. I need to rebuild bridges from my past that I burned. Sometimes the best lessons are the hardest ones to earn." A bear named Tim and a Goanna were friends. You never know what good the universe sends. On a shitty day, an angry bear made new friends with grateful Gary Goanna. And so my story ends. And see, that was inspired by this here. See that Goanna? Yeah. That is on the lolly bar outside in the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame on the edge of the kitchen. And that's Gary Goanna and the kangaroos up in the corner, and he met a bear named Tim. All right. Well, I think that's about it from me at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame in Yarra and the Seahorse Medicine Cafe. Yes, I'm just going to sign out. Wash away the garbage, leaving behind rainbows. Yes, I'm Thundercloud. Mum calls me James. Some of my friends call me James. You can call me Thundercloud. I much prefer it, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, all right. I'm going to have my Collier's Got a Collar and ginseng tea. And I'll see you tomorrow night here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Wednesday words over my poetry night. Yes. See you later.